As long as you look at the problem, you cannot get to the solution.
So I'm just wondering whether access to the Akashic Records can enable people to think more kind of, I would say, sensibly about some of these controversial topics. And there are, of course, many things which are matters of opinion, but then there are other things which are really kind of objectively true, regardless of what people's opinions about them are. Fire is hot, you know, ice is cold, stuff like that. And many other things that science has given us a fair amount of information about, that, or the moon landing for that matter. It's not really a matter of opinion. So I'm just wondering whether this Akashic Record practice kind of enables one to align one's thinking with more objective reality.
I'm asking specifically what they can say to us now about face masks, for example. Is that okay?
Just as a case in point?
Okay. So they're showing me that the face masks are not the issue. It's the fear that is behind it. Okay. So they're saying they have a purpose, just like wearing a seatbelt. And when that got introduced, there were a lot of people against wearing a seatbelt too, or wearing a helmet if you ride a motorcycle, you know. So they're saying that is a precaution that you can choose if you want to be kind to the person next to you.
Yeah.
And then they're also saying that we have an obligation towards our neighbors. And they mean this, you know, not literally, but in general. They're saying we have an obligation. You don't want to make your resistance or your anger into a spiritual journey. Meaning, if you're resisting regular precautions and measurements, health measurements, that you would endanger someone else. A good thing I think they're showing me is, like, I think they call it in English the plague. You know, like
we had hundreds of years ago, and yeah.
And a simple thing was hygiene. You know, like washing your hands. Getting back then, all the bathroom, you know, everything would just run out into the street. They started to say, okay, this doesn't work anymore. We have to find a different way to deal with that. So hygiene, it's nothing other than that. It's a hygiene thing.
Right. And with regard to the plague, initially there were all kinds of conspiracy theories about it, like evil spirits were causing it, or the Jews were responsible, you know, things like that. And that wasn't the scientific truth. Pardon? You
need a scapegoat. You need people who, you know, who live in fear. They need someone or something to be blamed, so then they can feel empowered. And I think that is the root of all these problems we are having, that people live in fear and they are looking for someone or something to be the bad guy, so then they can feel empowered. In other words, people who are spiritually not very much evolved, they need to find something to push against.
Yeah.
And then
to externalize the problem.
Correct. And then they can feel their own barriers and their strengths and their power. Where if you're spiritually evolved, you listen to someone, you say, I can see some truth in it, but it doesn't really resonate with me. And you let it go, and then there's no issue there. And they're saying, and that is what we are experiencing right now. There are people who are, and it's not just, you see it on both sides, which is the danger. You know, you see it, like one example, for example, would be Black Lives Matter. You see it on both sides. Even if you tend to be for one side, they are just the same, pushing against it instead of looking, let me say like this, as long as you look at the problem, you cannot get to the solution. You can only find the solution if you know the problem and you're willing to go beyond it. And that is right now not the case.
Yeah. And I think another word than beyond would be go to sort of a deeper, more fundamental level, because a lot of problems are symptomatic of something that is out of alignment at a deeper level. And so if you can create that alignment, it's like, let's say the leaves on a tree are withering. All right, where's that problem coming from? Okay, the roots aren't getting enough water. So you go to a deeper level, the roots, and then nourishment comes up, and then the leaves are green again. So I think that's true of many, many human problems. And you would probably agree with that.
It's perfect. Give me 1 second. I show you something to really make it visible, okay?
Great, thanks.
Because I explain it like this to my clients.
Mm-hmm.
This is us today, okay?
Russian doll.
Yeah, as long as we try to find the solution on this level, we're never going to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. The problem is somewhere here. It's inside of us, hidden. So right. We need to find a way to address the problem here to feel happy here. So I think the problem is not the mask. I mean, and this is not about wear one or not. It's about there is a fundamental human problem that many, and not all, but that comes really to the surface now. And I feel the coronavirus matches this problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked what they said about consideration for one's neighbors and all. I'm reminded of my father. He used to have all these sinus problems, and he chain smoked cigarettes. So he'd be chain smoking his cigarettes, complaining about his sinuses, and then saying, "Oh, it's the weather. I can't stand this weather. It's too humid or something." It's like obviously pointing a finger at. And people, that's just an example, but that happens a lot with kind of people having problems and then ignoring the obvious cause, which is right here at home.
May I take it to one more step? At least for me, it's like, I think people need to understand that everything is connected.
Yeah.
Even if we can't see it, but what we do here affects the whole world and the other way around too. Mm-hmm. And we need to understand how connected everything is in order to live, and here's the magic word, in balance.
Yeah.
You can find more information regarding my Akashic Record seminars on my website. See you soon.